Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals. It's a 4:05 game. The Cardinals favored by 2.5. Battle for first place again here in the NFC West. Seattle won just a couple weeks ago. They're 7-5. Cardinals are 6-6. Over under 44.5 from our friends over at FanDuel.
Yeah, and the Seahawks defense, I think, is really kind of rounding into form in the last few weeks. We're starting to see this defense really take shape and become a major factor. Against Arizona was the first of the Leonard Williams, takes control, dominates, has the game of his life games. He then did it again against the Jets. So that's always interesting. If you have one player that wrecks a game and then they play again a couple of weeks later, what are the adjustments that the team that got wrecked makes to try and take that guy away? How do they slow down Leonard Williams this time?
Yeah, I mean, the other part of that was we've talked a lot about the Seattle linebacking core and their trade for Ernest Jones and how that has reshaped their run defense. Arizona's run the ball extremely well, except against Seattle a couple weeks ago. So I think Arizona, again, I'll say I repeat it every week, but Arizona can be special if Kyler Murray's special, thrown to Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr., but they're still at their best when they get James Conner going. The offensive line has done a nice job up front for the Cardinals. They've also played pretty good defense, especially at home this year, and it was a defensive struggle in that Seattle-Arizona game just a couple weeks ago. Geno Smith with a red zone interception that maybe made it a little bit closer. So I think we're looking at a good game here, and to me, it comes down to the QB mistakes, and how many are made each on each side.
Yeah, it's reductive, but it's true to say that Kyler Murray kind of is the determining factor on whether Arizona has one of those games where they look great and win or don't. Whether he's able to play at that incredible level, whether he's able to find enough of those plays. Even against Minnesota, there were some plays there to be made that he didn't, and a couple of the mistakes were enough to swing that back in Minnesota's direction. Arizzona's defense continues to just be way more impressive than you think it should be on paper. They just do such a good job week on week, scheming guys open, getting unblocked pressure, which I think is a good indicator of scheme and the impact that it can have, given the fact that their personnel just doesn't look like it should be able to produce the way it is.
Yeah, they forced, again, some of those negative plays they forced against Seattle kept them in the game. Only able to put up 6 points a couple weeks ago, but it was close. And, there was a pick 6 from Kyler Murray that, Seattle didn't get much going offensively either. That was a surprise to me. Again, Arizona's defense has been very impressive. They have, I think, absolutely they've only given up. They gave up 23 points to Minnesota last week. Prior to that, they gave up 9 against the Bears, 6 against the Jets, 16 against Seattle, 7 of which came on a pick 6. So they were on a run of really cracking down defensively. And, last week through, 3 quarters of the game, after 3 quarters, how many would they give up? 2 touchdowns until Minnesota won late. So I think Arizona's been very impressive, and I repeat it every week, impressed with Jonathan Gannon, the defense, and the upside that they have when Kyler Murray is capable of playing special. So I'm curious to see how Arizona tries to get the run game going against Seattle. Do they lean into Kyler Murray as a run threat a little bit more? And, who takes better care of the ball? Geno got strip sacked in this game last time around, had the red zone interception. Can Arizona still create those types of turnovers?
Yeah, the big thing that needs to change this game for Arizona to have a shot is, this was as shut down as that offense has been this season against Seattle the first time around. And a lot of that was Leonard Williams just single-handedly wrecking shop. But they had 6 points in that game. You got no shot if you're going to score 6.
I also don't – it's the time of the year I don't know what to do with injury reports. All the time. But you're sitting hurt. After a Wednesday practice, Seattle, who didn't practice and everything was not disclosed? I don't know. Tyler Lockett, Leonard Williams, Ernest Jones was limited. DK Metcalf was limited. I know DK has battled a ton of injuries this year. I'll assume those guys are going to be fine, but tough to predict exactly who's in and who's out here on a Thursday going into the game. Last thing I want to highlight is the secondary in Seattle going up against Marvin Harrison Jr., Arizona's receivers. Good matchups there. This was also the game where 2 weeks ago Devin Witherspoon had that great play where he's the one who kind of cut Kyler Murray off on the bootleg, forced the errant throw. Anytime Witherspoon, Reek Woolen matched up, against those Arizona receivers. We got some fun matchups there.
Yep, absolutely.
Last thing I'll say, Darius Robinson, the first-round pick for Arizona, did make his debut last week for Arizona. Of all they don't have a bunch of dudes up front, like we said, who can win one-on-ones. He was drafted to maybe be that guy, mostly an edge rusher, but who, long 290-pounder who can, as you mentioned during the draft, like an old-school 5-tech who can line up on the interior, rush the passer. Interested to see what he can do here in his second week. He also didn't practice yesterday, or had limited practice yesterday. So
and he was lined up very much as a situational edge rusher in that first game. And he played 22 snaps, I think, 18 of which were pass rushes. So they have him very much as a rotational guy in obvious passing downs right now, as opposed to, somebody that's going to be an impact all the way through the game.
All right, man. Should be a fun game. The 4:05 during the witching hour starting time, but it'll be fun. Who are you taking? We've got Arizona favored by 2.5 at home.
Yeah, interesting given the way the first game went between the two. I hate every single line this week, all of them.
Make sure you preface that before every pick.
Can't stand them. I am picking Seattle to cover this line on the road.
I'll also take Seattle. I always pick wrong against Arizona, though. Always wrong against Arizona, with Arizona. Harry's going to pick Arizona, so at least there'll be some separation between myself and my son here.
Only on this game.
This game. Something will change with this game.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.